Well, hello, and welcome to Sarah's Crafty Time. For this project, I decided to make a birthday gift for a friend of mine. He's very into anime, and one of his favorite characters is none other than
11番隊隊長、ザラキケンパチだ。てめえと殺し合いに来た。
When I think of Kenpachi, I think of someone who is strong and is willing to fight every fight on his own. So when I wanted to make a piece of art that was inspired by him, I wanted him to look a little bit forlorn, a little bit lonely. So the image I found online that showed him kind of looking forlornly up into nowhere, holding on to his trusty sword. I thought it was perfect to fit the feeling that I was trying to make here. So initially here I'm just cutting out the shape so that I will have a great silhouette of strong Kenpachi. Next, I need to spray my canvas black because I was not, wise enough to just order a black canvas. If you're doing this on your own and you're going to do a space-themed spray paint, it may be worth looking up black canvases. I know they're out there, so this is what I was working with, and this is how I got it as dark as I possibly could. This is about 2 layers of black spray paint. Next, I positioned where I wanted Kenpachi to be looking up from. Since this is a nice long canvas, I'm thinking that I'll have a couple planets kind of in the background above him, and he'll just be looking up into space, thinking about all the fights he's going to win on his own. So initially I position where he's going to be, and then I give him a little spritz of black spray paint so that he sticks to the canvas. And then I start going to town. I do a little bit of white so that I get some highlights and do the colors of the planets that I'm thinking of. So I did a green for the top planet and a purple for the bottom one. Then I positioned my circular templates. For example, I used a cup for one of them and a bowl for the other so that they're slightly different in size. And then I do the spray a little bit of white onto my fingers and spritz it technique, and that helps me get the stars. And before I take my stencil of Kenpachi off, I decide that he needs a little bit more white to define his robes. So I give that a spritz, and then when I peel it off, I am just thrilled. So I actually spray a little bit of black spray paint on my extra paper there, and then I go in with a little artist paintbrush, and I just kind of go through and darken up the bits that didn't stick very well. Overall, I was very impressed with this technique. I didn't have a whole lot of hope when I had started that this really detailed stencil that I had spent so much time cutting out would actually show up, especially because, I didn't have any great way to stick it to the canvas. But if you want to give this a try, this worked very well for me. Just make sure you give it a good spray initially, and you're ready to go in with a little artist paintbrush afterward. Next, I wanted to protect this piece of art with an enamel top coat. So this brings us to a fatal flaw. The only direction I can give you to avoid this in the future is a suggestion that you look and you use your primary school education and read the bottles of spray paint when you buy them. Clearly, I didn't do that very well. I thought this was going to be a clear top coat for spray paint, and it turned out to be a white top coat. Since I was on a timeline, I had a birthday that I wanted to deliver this gift on, I had to come up with another option. And at this time, I had the other stencil, and I tried to, start over, spray my whole canvas black again. However, once you spray your paper cutout that's very detailed with black spray paint to initially hold it there the first time, unfortunately the stencil deforms a little bit if you're just using regular paper. And maybe that's the other learning I can offer, is that if you're going to do something that's this detailed, it may be worth the effort to cut it out of cardstock. I had attempted to do this with this detailed cutout, and it was very difficult. So maybe you could make friends with someone who has a Cricut that would cut out different designs in high detail. That would be one great option, but unfortunately for me, that was not a choice for this timeline. So I had to pivot, as some may say, and try to come up with another option that I could do in the time that I had left and wasn't as complicated, right? So that made me think of this other very iconic scene of Kenpachi finally unleashing his true spirit power. So, with that scene in mind, I found another image from the anime itself where Kenpachi was pulling on his spirit power. You can see the bright yellows in this. This is really what inspired me the most. I taped together a few pages of cardstock, and I made sure that they were the same coverage as the whole canvas. That way, when I did the cutout, I could just spray the yellow directly on and the black would remain. So I went through the tedious effort of cutting out this shape, and it turned out to be not nearly as difficult as the first image, especially once I got my small scissors out. Everything turned much easier that way. Alright, so now I'm gonna spray this area with white and yellow.
Cool.
And then it'll be done. And I'm not gonna cover it with white.
Big brain.
After that, I headed out to the garage to my newly black canvas. That's a new canvas, not the original one. And with my original Kenpachi stencil there as tribute and reminder of my failures in life, I went to town spraying this yellow and white, and I was so happy with how clearly you can see Kenpachi, you can see his hair, you can see the crazy smile he has, right? So next I played around with trying to add a little bit more color, but as I, went through, I felt it kind of took away from the dramatic yellow, and I decided to just cover it all up with black again and make it even more in-depth. And in doing that, I accidentally added a few different drops of black to the yellow. So I put my stencil back on and redid everything. And oh my goodness, having the two different colors sprayed again made the color so much more bright. Overall, I'm very happy with this piece of art, and I think that this does embody like this crazy moment where Kenpachi finally lets all of the crazy out. So I'm really happy with this piece, and I hope that if you ever work on a piece of art and it's not going the way you want, or you make a detrimental error that you can't take back, I hope that you can, take a minute, grieve what you've lost, but think of other things that inspire you and just continue to make something. I think at the end of the day, I made two great pieces, and while I can only show one of them to my friend, one day I might try to remake the original as an apology. And maybe he can appreciate my original inspiration through this video. Alright, thanks for watching. Hope I see you next time.